Welcome to another episode of Money Talks, an exclusive conversation with some of the most brilliant minds in business, entrepreneurship, and finance. Today, we find ourselves once again in beautiful Singapore. But as you guys know, I spend most of my time in the digital space, the Web3 space, the metaverse, as you can call it. But I want to take it back to the real world. Today, we are here with the co-founder and CEO of PropertyLimBrothers, a real estate agency that is media-centric, focused on distributing their real estate portfolio and their opportunities online. I wanted to sit down with Melvin. Melvin, how are you?
I'm good. Hello. Good to be here.
Good to have you. I started watching your YouTube a bit ago, and I was like, okay, this guy has taken a model that existed in the United States, and he's adapted it to the Singaporean market. I wanted to talk a little bit about your philosophy inside your organization, because you guys in the last 12 months have done $800 million in transaction volume, which is pretty fucking good for a market of this size. I want to talk about how it is that I know you have other big competitors, how it is that you're maintaining realtors to work for you as opposed to going to them. I want to talk about the importance of media and how that's helped you scale over the last couple of years. But before that, I want to take it all the way to the back. We were talking before we started. You're like, Luke, you know what was my first job before I got started in the real estate game and then before I launched my companies? I want you to talk about before you had the epiphany, where you were working, what you were doing, and kind of what that story was a little bit like.
All right. Also, great to be here, Luke. Yeah.
Glad to have
nice
you
to be on Money Talk. I think to start off where I was during my first official kind of career, back then, I was like 24. I was actually in the second year of my studying for my degree. Yeah, I was doing banking and finance in Singapore, and I ran out of funds basically because going into the third year, I just realized that in terms of funding my own university fees, I need to probably get into doing more tuition for.
What did you go to school for?
Yeah, I was taking a program called banking finance.
Okay.
I came from average family. My dad is a taxi driver. My mom stay at home. I'm the eldest of three. They're fantastic parents, and of course, I always grow up a mindset that if I want to get something that I would like to have, I have to earn it myself. My dad trained me from young that okay, if you want to buy this computer, get a job and then pay for it. And that's basically my entire brought up. And my first career was as a prison officer. Yeah. So why did I get into that is because I was just wanting to try something different. I was still figuring out what I want to do with life. And of course, I married at a young age. So during my 3-year stint as a prison officer, I got married, had my first child. And after that, going to the third year, that was when I had a little bit more kind of clarity about what I wanted to do. Because as I look back at age 26, most of the time my enjoyment in work has always been doing sales. And I love the art of selling. I love meeting people, connecting with people. I just love like the whole process of like meeting human beings and being able to add value by sharing with them things that probably they will need or not need. Yeah. So I then chanced upon a friend that was doing Realty work. So that was when I was 26, in the year 2016, 17. And that started a 10 years journey as a realtor. Yeah. So back then, could you imagine we were using things like BlackBerry?
Damn.
And the technology back then it was also just the beginning of having internet, having portals, and there wasn't really any portals that facilitated realtors to market their properties. So we were still using a lot of newspaper advertisements. Yeah, so it was like really the backdated stuff about 16 years back. And so that 10 years journey, I think, has been pretty interesting because into my 4th year, I actually made a business mistake that technically wiped off me and my partner's bank account to zero. So it was like a series of mistakes that we made because we were young back then, very ambitious, trying to take shortcuts. And I think in terms of like the fundamental principles of dealing with people, how to manage businesses, and of course running the work as a self-employed, there were no anchor values, and we tend to make a lot of rash decisions at
Yes.
6. Yeah. So it was actually a good reset point, because back at the age of about 30 to 32, 32 was the age that I really sat down to kickstart the journey of spending a lot of time to read, consume content. I read a lot of books on businesses, autobiographies, and of course, I had close to about 4 years of like relearning period. Yeah, I'll call it a drought season, and that was a season that we also dedicated our business to integrity, and we wanted to really do business the right way. And all these values actually perpetuate into what we are doing now. So at age 36, which was about 6 years back, I started to become a business owner instead of a realtor. So back then, the first 10 years was really doing sales on my own with my partner. And then 6 years back, we started the first video home tour in Singapore. And just as we were chatting in the dressing room, Singapore was a little bit, probably about 3 years backwards from
Yes.
the US, yeah, in terms of media technology, the way that audiences see things right here in terms of social media content space. So I had just this desire to change things a little bit. And then we chanced upon a lot of different content from US, and we're just thinking like, hey, you know, what is it that in Singapore, home sellers were like just allowing their homes to be marketed so hastily, right? And the bread and butter way of marketing a home back then was really like a realtor going to the property, stamping photos with their phones, posting it on portals, and they were just waiting for their phones to ring. And I just felt that every real estate should have a life of its own. There should be a story to tell, and we should be able to showcase to the buyers at the comfort of your mobile phone, at the comfort of your TV screen on YouTube channel. You should be able to see probably about 80-90% of what you want to see in that home, so that you can then decide if you want to spend your precious time to go down physically to look at the property. So when we think about that, then we decided to kickstart one of the first few videos, having a presenter in the home, walking through the entire home. And that was in year 2017. And so we started our own media production house, and then we grew from there. And then, of course, last year, we started our own real estate agency. So this is where we're at right now.
It's amazing. So how is it that Melvin Lim goes from prison officer to now real estate agent, to now business owner, to now multi-business owner? There's a bridge in between that you said there's a season of drought, in which I assume you meant by drought financial drought, but not drought of the mind. You were nurturing the mind. You were planting seeds. Talk to me a little bit about the information or the books or the paradigms that kind of shifted in your mind in that period where you're like, okay, there was a big fuck up, like we lost it, which, you know, I've lost it multiple times myself. In that period of humility, you have to relearn how you operate. What are some foundational principles that you learned that took you and transitioned you? Because there was a shift in mindset, clearly. There's a shift in the information that you have, the information you digested. I always tell my people, read biographies. You're the first person that's told me, oh, I've read biographies. And talk to me a little bit about the mindset shift and the principles learned and kind of how that translates to you becoming successful today. Because, I mean, from broke to now managing over 120 plus employees with the capacity of 400, because you're saying the output is absolutely massive. What happened? What's the shift there?
Yeah. So I think at age 32, the turning point was during one of the evenings, because when I tabulated that, you know, my bank is going to be wiped out to zero. And when we talk about zero, it's not just a business account, it's a personal account as well. So I went back, told my wife. I still remember back then I was actually a newborn Christian. So I just found the faith, and I was thinking like, hey, you know, 1 year into this new faith, this is like a totally humbling experience. So I still remember that night my wife prayed for me and said that it's okay, we can start from scratch. I mean, she's a homemaker. We already have 3 kids. And to be brought to zero that was my 6th year into the industry. It's considered like a disgrace in the realty world, because everybody is like driving big cars, watches, and I mean, in the realty world or the insurance world, people are usually, they would judge you based on like the amount of material possessions you have. And so it was like a really humbling experience. I still remember that 4 years, there were seasons that I couldn't pay my car installments, and I didn't want to put that burden on my wife. Yeah, so I just want to figure things out. So I think it was really like a period of humility, like you said. And I then went back to think about what caused this. Yeah, and I realized that it was because that first 6 years, firstly, I was trying to prove something, and I didn't know what I was trying to prove. And I realized that all along for my entire journey up to 32 years old, I was always trying to prove to my dad, that, I want to prove him wrong, that, I can do something that he'll be proud of me. Yeah, because even though they were loving parents, but of course sometimes, parents, when they will bring us up, they were also not having the right parenting kind of.
That they impose the limitations that they have.
Yeah, and of course, sometimes there could be hurtful words that were said and all that. And then I just realized that I need to solve this issue to really know, there's so many things that I'm trying to do is just to prove to him and maybe prove to the world. And I was like buying watches, changing cars, and I was just trying to prove to people that I can make it. Yeah, so I realized that all these things created a lot of anxiousness within me. And it was this constant need to prove that created like a wrong mindset. So one of the wrong mindset I had back then because of this anxiousness was that I was looking at my customers as walking commissions. Yeah, so I tend to judge my customers based on the value of commission that I can earn from them. And it became a transactional thing and not a relational thing. And that was actually one of the biggest mistakes, because all my customers back for the first 6 years were one-time businesses, and there was no repeat businesses, because they know that I transact, I'm good with what I do, but I have no relation. And they somehow can feel that whether your consultant, your realtor is treating you as a
whether
family.
they care or not. Yeah.
Yeah, like, do they look at you as just like, after I'm done with the deal, I earn your commission, I walk away, or we're building a lifetime portfolio relationship with you and I care about you? And so that was the biggest shift. Like, am I doing my business with integrity? And in today's context, I always tell my guys, integrity equates to 2 equations. Number one, integrity definitely equates to honesty. But honesty means nothing if we do not put in the element of excellence. Because if our client trusts us with the time and they select us to sell their home or to invest a property for them, they're trusting our expertise and excellence. And that, in combination with honesty, equates to integrity. So I think back then I was not doing that. And because of this very short game mindset, I was not long game. I wasn't having like that long game mindset that I'm here to build an audience. I'm here to build a community. I'm not here to serve a family. And real estate is one of the biggest investment that a family will have. And there's so much hard-earned money, and they have to leverage, pay mortgages and stuff like that. And that was the biggest shift. So with that calibration, actually, once our banks was wiped off to zero, me and my partner made a commitment. We said that, okay, from this point onward, we're going to dedicate our business to God. We're going to dedicate our business to doing things correctly. That 4 years, I mean, we went back to do things like room rentals, and it's like humbling stuff. It's like commissions probably like $800 per room rental, and just started from scratch. But that 4 years, actually, through that experience, it built back the mentality that we are long game. We are looking at the people, not just the commission. The commission is a side effect of good work done.
Yes.
Yeah. So first, so that was settled. And then secondly, I just realized that because I'm focused on people, I have more mind space and I have more time to think. I'm not anxious about proving to people that I don't know. I'm not anxious of proving to the world, to social media, like what do I have? And I had a heart-to-heart talk with my dad. We cleared a lot of misunderstandings, and the relationship was mended. And I think I was just like having a fresh start at 32 years old. So I chanced upon this method of reading. So I bought chunks of books, self-development, sales, marketing, like creating companies, autobiographies, how Steve Jobs built his company and stuff like that. And of course, the method that I used was like reading a chapter per book, and I would just stack up like 10 books at one go. I just read off a chapter each, so that I can just do it like having a chapter of each of the 10 books consecutively, because I realized that works for business self-help books, productivity books, but not for fiction books. Yeah, so I started the method, just reading massively. Now we have Kindle and stuff, but back then I was just like spending so much time reading and then meeting my clients, not choosing my deals. It can be any kind of deals, rentals. It can be serving a tenant.
You weren't picky. Just whatever comes.
Yeah, I just look at a human being and I just enjoy the relationship. And a lot of my clients back then, they started small. Today, they have multiple properties. And I'm just so thankful that recalibration of mindset just creates that long game trajectory until today. So I think it's really about that realization plus having that mind space to read and consume content and just think and just spend time thinking about how do I recalibrate the entire business. And I think with that 4 years at age 36, I think there was just this sudden, I don't know. One day I was at home and then my wife was telling me, my nickname is Vin, like Melvin, Vin, right? So she said, hey, Vin, she'll call me darling sometimes. I say, hey, darling, why is it that you're so free? Do we have anything to worry about? Do you have enough sales or not? So I just told her that I just got a feeling that something big is coming. We probably would do something big. I just not so sure what is that. And then all of a sudden, when I just chanced upon all the content on social media, on YouTube and stuff, and just realized that, hey, we should do this in Singapore. And I was not a natural speaker. I fumble at my speech. And when I was young, standing in front of people, I would sweat a lot. I don't speak well. I'm considered a late boomer, technically. So I just don't know why through that season, at age 36, then we started this whole presentation thingy. And I went all in to really self-learn, like how does all the media stuff work, cameras, lightings, a little bit of production work and stuff like that. And then we started to build a team from scratch. Yeah, so that was the journey until about 36 years old.
That's crazy. There's something interesting you talked about, faith, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. To talk a little bit money, what is the biggest commission transaction that you've had inside your company? Yeah, we've had sales and stuff, but what the single biggest profit of one commission?
So in Singapore, the commission ranges between they average at about 2%.
It's lower than in the US.
Yeah, and of course, over the past 4 years, there's been a rise of what we call discount brokerages. They come in offering 1%, but of course with lesser value. So our company, we position ourselves because of the value that we give in terms of content, distribution, digital presence, and brand. Our fees are between 2 to 3%. We represent predominantly home sellers. So I would say that we transact anything between 1 over million all the way to about 10 over million for landed homes. Biggest commission probably will be about 3% off, maybe something in the range of about 8 to 10 million. Yeah, so that's about the range in Singapore.
Pretty good.
Yeah, Singapore is very small. We have, if you travel from east to west, it takes you 1.5 hours. We are probably about 60% the size of New York, and we have about 1.2 million units of housing, and these are classified under public housing. Yeah, but public housing is expensive in Singapore. Yeah. It costs about between $500,000 to $1 million. That's what our government has crafted since about 40 years back, and that's been fantastic. So 90% of Singaporeans, they own their own homes.
Wow.
And then we have about 350,000 units of private apartments. We call it condos, apartments. And there's only 350,000 in this space. And then we have the highest class of real estate, which are landed properties. There's only about 73,000 of them. Yeah, but in the States, everybody
has land,
a landed property, right? But in Singapore, it's so scarce, and that's basically the primary setup here. So we average about 40,000 transactions per annum. Yeah, so that's the space. It's a very small market, but it's very competitive.
Yes,
and population is growing. It's exciting as well.
How do you go from being a real estate agent to now having a team of over 120 people? Because you go from hustling to now being a boss.
Yeah.
What is the mindset shift? What are the principles that you've learned through that transition period? Because obviously doing it solo or doing it just with your business partner out here doing apartment rentals or room rentals or whatever it is to now actually running a successful company, what is the transition stage from going from hustler to boss?
Yeah. I think interesting question. So it was like a combination of all the stuff that I read over the years, and I think it was like thinking, I've been doing the self-employed model for about 10 years, and I started to realize also why self-employed people sometimes can be very anxious as well, because being in the self-employed mode, you are, of course, a professional. You earn the most amount because you take home most of the commissions, but in exchange for that, there's time involved.
Yes.
And you're technically always like a one-man show, and you are the best at what you do. And I think the key fundamental difference back then was thinking about if I want to scale up the way of selling real estate, and I want to market each home to the fullest potential, I'm going to need to invest a lot of time in that. So the first tranche, and later I'll come back to the self-employed part. So the first part was that back in 2016 and 17, I was thinking, how can I go at this at scale? And I started then hiring my first videographer. But back then, my first videographer didn't have any experience in filming real estate homes. So we had to figure out ourselves, buy the cameras and all that kind of stuff. And then we started to grow the media team. So I started from a self-employed to maybe like a superstar model, having me as the main pivot and my partner. And then we have a team of probably about 6 to 8 people, mainly media guys, with us. So we have like a small office, and then we started doubling down on the content output. Yeah, so we started to introduce this mode of selling into the local market. There was a lot of actually opinions back then, like people were commenting, why are these people doing all this extra stuff? Right? We can just sell homes like the normal way. Why do you have to be so extra to film it?
Yeah,
and things like that. And but we know for sure that the homeowners were intrigued, like they were like so astonished at this new method, right? But of course today is very normal. Yeah, but homeowners love it. But homeowners were sometimes they were a little bit skeptical, because when you film a home, you can't hide a lot of things. You had to be full on transparent mode at everything that you showcase. So that took a little bit of time to educate our homeowners. We introduced home staging, and of course now we use VFX staging. We use Unreal Engine to three-dimensional staging within the videos and stuff. Yeah, so that was that period back then. But we realized that media is so important, digital marketing is so important, social media, the platforms, distribution of the content. So we just went with a mindset that, okay, let's build the content as much as we can, and let's just do every home tour in an authentic fashion. So I told my guys that, okay, every home tour, it must be the real us. We cannot put on like a fake persona to present the home. When the buyers come to view the property, when they see us in real life, it must be us.
It must match.
It must match. Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, we don't want to be like a newscaster, right?
Yes.
We just want to be us. Yeah. So we started building the team from 8, 20, and then now our media company is about 60 over people. With that 60, part of it is a remote team as well. So I have about 15 guys in another country in Malaysia. The rest of the 45 are in Singapore. And gradually, from 2019, I started the model to have more realtors with us. that was why last year we went out to start our own real estate company, a realty firm. So all this ties in to the mindset of being a self-employed, coming into the business model. So I think the key fundamental difference back then was that I was trying to think, firstly, why do I want to transit to become a business owner? And what is the main purpose of a business? Is the main purpose of a business profit? Because I had a period of struggle. When I started the media company and eventually the realty firm, technically speaking, as a realtor, single-handedly, because I was a millionaire realtor for 2019, 2020, I could technically earn more.
Yes.
Yeah. But so I was struggling, like, do I want to be continued as a one-man show to earn all the commissions? Or do I want to transit to a business owner? And why do I want to do that? And I just realized that as I was doing that transition, I made the anchor point that being a business owner gives me so much more satisfaction now at this season of my life, because I realized that this is like building a community to do this thing together. And like now I have 120 people that I'm serving technically, because they look up to me as their leader. Technically, I'm also serving them.
Yes.
As we serve our clients together. So I think in terms of this relationship, the amount of satisfaction derived is so much more. As a single realtor, sometimes it can be quite lonely. I'm always driving around in my car, serving clients alone. I love what I do, but now I think it's a different kind of feeling and satisfaction. And when my guys do well, the amount of satisfaction that I have seems to be quite different. Yeah, so I think it's like a different season right now.
That's lovely. There's a lot of people listening that are at that kind of stage where they're hustling, right? They're making $10,000 a month, $5,000, $20,000. They could live off of that, but they have the desire to get to the next level. But it's not that easy, because when you're hustling because you need money. You can't just be like, okay, now I'm a multimillionaire real estate agent. I can just afford to go and hire a ton of people, pocket the expenditure or whatever, like actually risk it, test it out. In your opinion, when you're going from that stage of solopreneur to entrepreneur, how do you change that mind shift? Like, what is the mentality there? Because yeah, some people may be better off just being solopreneurs for their entire career, and that may be their gig. When you don't have millions of dollars to test out new projects, to actually venture and hire dozens and dozens of staff, what sort of mindset shift takes place in your opinion? And what are some of the self-talks that you go through, or what are some of the experiences that you go through to pivot from one point to the other?
Yeah. One of the key thing will be between time of an entire group of people versus time on my own. So I would say it has to do with the concept of time preference, in the sense that with the time that is being limited by my own 24 hours, what is the amount of impact that I can give compared to if I can have a group of people that has about the same DNA and culture.
The cloning.
Yeah. And if we are all on this mission together, can we do bigger things and greater things? The mindset shift was that I adopt the green and red light approach, meaning that the money that I earn as a solopreneur, basically I'm the biggest investor in the business. So I churn, I would say, a majority of the profits into the business. And I keep telling myself that I'm building a different life form of its own. So the business becomes its own life form.
Yes.
Yeah. And I basically, for a solopreneur hustling, in order to transit to a business owner, I have to tell myself that firstly, me as a single person, I will not be the smartest. Yeah. There'll be people that are smarter than me. But I think as an entrepreneur and as a leader, what's the most important thing is that how do you actually share that vision with people that are smarter than you to be with you, to work alongside you, so that we can go towards that vision together. So I think there was like multiple humbling routes, because one thing as a solopreneur back then was that I'm always the best, I sell the best homes. I just want to do everything myself. Even like paperwork is like, I want to be the one filling out the paperwork. It's like, I don't want to delegate at all. Yeah. So a lot of my shift was that, how do you transit from a single person to doing things together, trusting people, delegating, training people, investing your time in people, building relationships. And it's like telling yourself that you're building a new life form of its own because you have a bigger vision, because you want to go there together. Yeah. And that was primarily that shift. But the painful part was that whatever that you have been earning all along, you have to channel that in.
Yes.
Yeah, to feed this life form.
You have to feel poor in order for the business to become rich.
Yes.
And I feel you completely, brother. I feel you. I'm on the same wavelength there. Let me, you're in a commission-based business.
Yeah.
Jealousies arise. Egos flourish, especially whether it's in the real estate agents that you have inside your team, or even on the media side. Some people output content that's better than others. Some people have better views, rates, whatever it may be, better output. How do you manage culture and community? Because there's people listening, they have sales agencies, they have call centers, there may be realtors listening. How do you manage these emotional battles and these ego competitions to stay on course, stay focused, while at the same time maintaining a competitive environment?
Right. So because I've been 10 years in the traditional Realty model, what you just mentioned is definitely very insightful. It's very true because though I was part of like a huge company, a big team is great. I've been learning so many things from my mentors and stuff, but I can understand that deep down, because of the way that the solopreneur model is being structured, naturally, as we go for events, right? I mean, even though I see people in my same team, but inevitably, we are working for ourselves.
Yes.
Right. I mean, like out of the 100% commission that we earn, we take 90%. 10% goes to the agency back then as a self-employed. So naturally, when I meet like 1,000 people at a Realty event, all of us are technically competitors, right? We are sort of like looking at each other, hey, how well we have been doing. And the sharing is not authentic. It's not genuine, because sometimes like, even if people go on stage to share, but they know
they'll
that
gatekeep, because they're like, if I give too much game, it'll cost me.
Yeah. So that translates to actually what we're doing now as well. Because in our home tours, we talk about everything. We talk about analysis, how we look at real estate. And as we are, even this is now the 6th year that we're doing home tour contests. We have about 1,900 videos on our channel. Our competitors are sometimes still gently asking us, hey, why are you guys doing this? Why are you teaching your competitors how to sell homes? But I think we have to probably think in a new way is that, as we are doing this, we firstly have to overcome the fact that we are worried about people copying us. Secondly is that we have to always remind ourselves that we are doing this for the consumers, for the customers. And the moment we are always very worried about how competitors look at us, it limits ourselves to add value to customers. So that was actually the first part. But because of the understanding of how this model works in the past, as we started PropertyLimBrothers, there were a few key things that we wanted to implement to try to solve this and try to build a very different culture. The first thing was that as we started to grow, we buy our offices, we put our media team, our digital marketing, our tech team, research team, our Realty team together. First thing that I told my leaders is that all the leaders will have no offices. So like, I don't have a CEO office. There's only people that are doing editing, marketing work, desk work, they have their own table. Everyone else is free sitting. There's no office for directors and things like that. So I work off the dining table, and I work beside my editor and stuff like that. So we are very free-spirited.
The ecosystem is one of, even though there is hierarchy, there is no hierarchy in the physical experience.
Yeah, so people feel that when I first joined this company, everybody is relatable. Everybody can be my mentor. I don't have to worry about, knocking on the door. Hey, can I, come in and
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, it's like, so that's the first thing. Secondly is that we use this theory called the younger ox and the older ox. So every home is being marketed by a buddy system. We have an older realtor who is more experienced, probably in their 30s or 40s, with a younger realtor for each property. So basically, there's mentorship involved. And each home is actually being done with a team effort. So compared to the solopreneur model where a single realtor manages the marketing of a home, this is being managed by firstly a pair of realtors. There's a client support team. There's also a digital marketing team and the media production team. So it's like a team of 5 people helping the client together. So there's a lot more teamwork involved. And also we do like weekly huddles. There's like sports day. There's a lot of events that we have. And I think one thing that we always practice is vulnerable leadership, vulnerable sharing. So there's been a lot of sharing on a weekly, monthly basis. Sometimes people just share their past experiences, they would hear, things like that. So I think it's been that build up over the last 6 years that created this culture that we can be real with each other in this company. We don't have to worry about competition. And I think one most important factor was that 2 years back, me and my business partner, we step out of sales. Stepping out of sales doesn't mean that we're not involved, because I still do the home tours for homes for our clients and all that, because I love creating content. I do podcasts and I do vlogs and stuff. But I told my guys that I don't want to be a competitor. That means for myself, I will not have my private deals. Yeah, so even my bungalows, landed properties, it'll be handled by my senior consultants, but I'll be there with them. It's just that I don't earn their share of the commission. Yeah, so I operate as a business owner, so they know that, hey, my co-founders, they are really here to build us.
They're not building up that defense wall mechanism of like, yo, this guy's like trying to steal my bread.
Yeah, or like, the bosses always take the biggest property. They get to market the best homes, but we get the small homes and stuff. So basically, even the huge homes goes to our senior realtors and stuff like that. So I think that was like a few combination of all these things. But I think there was also one thing was that with our full-time team, we built this level of candor because we have this value printed on our office wall, is that this office does not allow brilliant jerks. Yeah. So we want brilliant people, but we don't want brilliant people here to look down on other people. Yeah, that means you can be very intelligent, but you come here with empathy and teamwork. Yeah, so we have another value called candor. But I think there was one that was fantastic, was that there were so many instances because we have a lot of equipment and inventory. It all started with this first light bulb thingy. I mean, there was a bulb that was damaged. It was like $300 over. I mean, like recently there was a camera that was damaged $4,000. And every time my staff will come and tell me, hey boss, I'll pay for this. So I told them that, okay, you don't have to pay. They asked me why. They said, in my previous media company, I have to pay. I said that, are you here for the long game? And if you're here for the long game, you're my partner. If you're my partner, you will never purposely break this equipment. It is definitely by accident, because we are on set. We're doing something on the run. You broke that thing accidentally. I will choose to trust you. So I think, and as your boss, I will pay for it. Yeah, so I think with that, over the years, they feel that this is an environment that they can innovate, they can try. They don't have to ask my permission for a lot of things. They know that they are here as a partner and the boss trusts them. So I think there was like all this combination of stuff that we built over the years.
Culture and community are one of the keys to sustenance of teams. Sometimes it's more expensive to churn over people than to have those alliances set in place and making people feel like they're part of it, making people like they're part of the equation, that they're part of the success of the business. Talk to me a little bit about your role nowadays in the organization. Yeah, you're doing content, you're doing community, you have your business partner. How do you guys differentiate who is responsible for the management of the business, who is responsible for, the management and the deployment of cash flow versus, head of community, head of content, head of culture? How do you guys juggle between co-CEOs, that relationship? What are you doing nowadays? What are you focused on? And kind of how do you divert that, the rest of the responsibilities to your co-founder?
Right. So back then when we were trying to scale the team, I think we've been business partners for 16 years already. What works for us is that because we're so different in terms of personality, but there's a aligning invisible thing that is holding us together, which is mutual trust. And a lot of us look at me and my co-founders, we're both having the same surname, we're Lims, and they're just saying that, you guys are not real brothers, but you all really operate a company like real brothers. How do you get that trust? I think it's really about having different skill sets. And as we were trying to scale the company, we made the agreement that, okay, for my business partner, he will continue to meet clients with our consultants. And of course, I will start to grow the business in terms of operations, strategy, content, marketing. And from there, I think it was like a parallel growth together. So at this stage, my business partner is mainly basically out there pitching deals to developers, going with appointments with our consultants. Some of the more tricky situations or properties that are more dynamic or more complicated, he'll be there. Also, some of the operational stuff for the realty side, I'm now handling more of the ops, strategy, expansion. Now we're diving a lot into research and tech, trying to implement AI into our business as well. And I'm still very involved in media production because I love doing it. And most of the content I will appear together with some of my presenters. So basically that's how we morph and we shift. Last year, we started the concept of building a team one, as in ONE, a team one, to have second generation leaders rise up. So we started identifying leaders within our community, our company, and then we started training them, giving them different roles to head different departments like the director of HR, finance, research, tech, and then content, creative lead and stuff.
And you're pulling these from your team?
Yeah, we're pulling these from our team.
Or are you bringing them from the outside?
Yeah, so initially I would say a lot of the identification of second gen leaders were within, but we always want to have a very open mindset. So some of them are from outside. Yeah, and we try to balance it out. But I think the most important formula was that we want to make sure that they have the right DNA and mindset and culture, and they love our story. They love the people here. So it has been a combination.
You're a family man.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, a lot of people listening, they enter the dilemma of managing the family at home and the family in the office. They're two different families, but they could both kind of feed each other. One feeds you spiritually, morally, physically, through your morale. The other one feeds you because it gives you the money and the sustenance to take care of your family. As a family man, how do you balance? Because there's people listening, they're like, look, I can't balance life. Like, life is hard. Life is difficult. You know, I'm a proponent of, I call it an imbalanced, balanced life. You need to be able to shift what's important to you throughout the time. Sometimes business may be more important than family. Sometimes family may be more important than business, and you kind of have to juggle that throughout time. In your opinion, as a family man, and for people listening who do have families, how do you manage the home and the business to make sure that both are healthy?
That's a very I would say important question that I constantly ask myself. So for my first 10 years as a realtor, it's been tough because it's always that communication breakdown that I have with my wife, basically to find the time for her, my kids, as well as work. And so the first 10 years has been a lot of like trying to figure things out, you know, what method works and stuff like that. And to add to the equation, we also homeschool our kids. Yeah, so we homeschool them
at a second level of difficulty.
Yeah, until 12 years old. And then, of course, they go back to mainstream schools and all that. And, of course, my wife has sacrificed to be at home with the 4 kids and stuff. So I think that the first 10 years, some of the key things that worked for us from then until now was that I started practicing time blocking for a certain period of time. And, of course, having, I think it's a book from the one thing about knowing that when we do business and work, there's no total work-life balance. Work-life balance sometimes can be considered as a myth. Yeah, because if you always want a work-life balance, you will never do something with great impact, right? So if you always want to get off work or your business at the same time, then how are you going to create impact? Because most of the time, your ideas comes to you at times and hours that you cannot predict. Sometimes you're in the bathroom and then you have just this idea that you want to execute it immediately, right? And I just realized that our business has to be on this like very wide range of extreme spectrum. So if you want to get things done, we have to execute it, right? But family, health, finances, relationships, friendships, development of your mind, I think it has to be like in this like that's exactly what the book talks about. Basically, you have to maintain it on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis. So when I started the time blocking system, I think it worked for my family. We have a fixed night that we go out. We have a fixed night that we meet our parents. We have a fixed day that we bring our kids out. And our schedules are shared. And with that, I think there's a little bit more consistency. But why is it that is an ongoing question is that, sometimes when, I'm naturally sometimes a person that wants to get things done fast.
Yes.
I can get overly ambitious even until now, right? Even just last year, my wife was telling me, she challenged me. She says that, you're doing all this strategic planning and meetings and milestone like sessions and retreats for your team, right? Because I was holding like last December, I was holding like a lot of rounds of strategic retreats planning for this year. She asked me this one question, which just like woke me up. She says that, what are you planning for the kids? And yeah, so it's just like, you're doing all this planning for your company, but have you planned something for the family? And so I think it's a constant question that we as entrepreneurs who has family, we have to ask ourselves, because end of the day, I think the realignment to always like be having that clarity, like while you're building your business, you're serving your clients, you're serving people in your team, but did you forsake something, that is also very, very important to you? In fact, family is one of the most important to you because they will walk with you till the end of life, right? So, yeah, so you asked me the question, what are you planning for the family? Yeah, so like, do you even have thought about a strategic retreat for your family,
Yeah. Wow.
To plan for the kids, right? Like, yeah. So that's an ongoing question. Yeah, and that actually woke me up, and then I then started to plan, right, this year. Let's have very regular things that we want to do as a family, road trips and things like that. Yeah.
I was speaking with Sabun in an earlier Money Talks, and he said, many times you have the right values, but the list of priorities is mixed up. So you have to recalibrate your priority list based off of your values, but also understanding that at different times your values change based off of the circumstances of your life.
Yeah.
Which is extremely important in understanding. So if like family is the most important thing to you, if money may be the most valuable thing to you, if your health may be the most valuable thing to you, because if you don't have any money, sure, you may love your family, but the most valuable thing at that time is the money so you can take care of the family. So it's matching the value list with the priority list and making sure that your priority list is aligned with your current set of values. A very good question from your wife. Yes, very impactful. I have two more questions for you that I want to ask before I wrap up. Throughout the last decade and a half of you going from solopreneur to entrepreneur to managing a big team, what is the single greatest lesson that you've learned?
I think what the biggest lesson was really about, okay, I'll start off with maybe not really the biggest, but I think one thing that I've learned over the past 10 years was about the opinions of other people. Yeah. This statement, opinions of other people, actually sort of exists in many different realms as I progress from solopreneur to entrepreneur, because when we're trying to do something new, even now, now every 6 months I'll challenge the team, let's change the content, let's do something different, because things are always changing. Like in this season, we're challenging every department to adopt AI, right? Now it's always like, how do you add AI into every part of your department, in every part of the business? And I think as we try to do new things, sometimes we're always worried about other people's opinions.
Yes.
Yeah. Like example, whenever I challenge my new guys to present in the home tours or maybe do some new content, they'll be very worried about the comments, right, in the YouTube channel. And I just realized from the switch myself, the moment I can conquer this part, that means like just not worrying about what other people talk about, sometimes not even looking. And that actually frees up so much recalibration and focus that I always can then remember that who am I serving? Like, what am I trying to impact? And who am I impacting? And I can realize that, okay, I'm impacting the audience. I'm impacting a homeowner. I'm impacting somebody that loves real estate. And I don't have to worry about people talking about stuff that really is pulling me back.
And it's interesting, specifically with content. Right. You'll get 1,000 positive comments. You'll get one negative comment.
And you focus on it.
And you focus on the one negative comment, whereby you neglect all the positive impact that you've caused, because like you said, we're so focused on either impressing or wanting to make sure there's no hate. Anybody that's ever done anything great has always gotten backlash.
Yeah. And that was actually my realization. But as I was building the team, I realized that this actually replicates itself in the 120 people. Because my video editors, sometimes they'll be so fixated that this is the video that I edited for my boss, for my team.
Yeah.
I want to check the amount of likes that there is, the view counts, the comments, and sometimes they'll be affected because some people will comment about their editing skills, like, this music is a bit way off and stuff like that. So even editors will be affected. My salespeople will be affected. My teammates that are doing certain stuff, sometimes will be worried about what other people think about them. So I think this is quite a huge elephant in the head. Is really like other people's opinions. So I think if this can be conquered, there's a lot of great things that we can accomplish. So I think this was one of the biggest lessons. Second biggest lesson was really challenging myself to be a leader that can rise up other leaders. I find that this is like a skill that I have to constantly be very good at to keep improving myself, because I have to be that leader that can groom new leaders, because without that, then the company cannot scale.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is, in my context, a different skill set, because I've always been the one that is grooming the team of specialists. But to groom a second-gen leader, I just realized that it's a very different skill set. So to sometimes really humble myself with empathy, but yet with the skill sets, that has been one of the biggest things, because there's so much things involved in leadership. It's like conflict resolution, seeing from their point of view, different perspectives, giving them new skills, helping them to know how to communicate. I mean, there's so much skill set in the realm of leadership that I'm still in the journey. Yeah.
There's this famous quote that says, a leader knows the way, goes the way, but then shows the way. So if you want to be a good leader, you must be able to create leaders.
Yeah,
I agree. As we wrap up, last question for you. We've talked about not comparing yourself, replicating yourself as a leader, rising to the occasion, creating leaders within your organization, generals per se. People listening, the audience listening, what is a data set? I call data sets, downloads of information that you receive from the universe per se, or from God, or from the world, or from your surroundings. Data sets, downloads of information. What is a data set that you would like to impart to the upcoming entrepreneur, to the developing entrepreneur, or to the entrepreneur that's doing well but wants to get to the next level? What is one piece of information or one value point that you would like to drive home?
I don't know whether there's a specific data set, but I think maybe is to understand that it's okay if, let's say, you are in a different season right now, because I think everybody has different seasons of your life. You might be in a season that you are in a rut. You might be in a season that you're building your business, but yet you're trying to struggle with certain parts of your life. You might be a season that is really in the bad shape. But I think realizing that there are different seasons, it actually gives us the courage to do something very different. And I like to use this thing together with my guys, is that we always take the median age of an average Singaporean. So average lifespan of a male is about 78 years old in Singapore. A female lives longer at about 85. So usually I like to challenge my guys. Take 78 minus your current age. That's the amount of years that you have left. Multiply by the number of days. And then 1/3 that. Because we have 24 hours, 8 hours we're sleeping, 8 hours we're doing stuff like, eating and stuff. You only have 8 hours of real work. So how many hours have you left? So I think that reverse engineering kind of methodology also help us to know that, sometimes we don't have to care too much about what other people think of us. If you want to do something and if it creates impact, it gives you satisfaction, it adds value to people, you just do it. So I think understanding that you have different seasons, not caring about what other people think about. And then of course the last thing is that I think as I become older and older, I want to make sure that I grow to be a person with wisdom.
Yes.
Yeah, and really being able to impact the next gen as well. Having more knowledge is one thing, but really how do you craft that knowledge into wisdom is a different level. Yeah.
Knowledge is a wisdom wisdom is knowledge put into practice in a practical way.
Yeah, that's right. So I think it's a combination. Seasons, just doing it because we have limited time span, right? And really we don't want to regret it when we're older. So just doing it, executing it now. And then the last thing is about wisdom.
It's so easy to get caught up in what you're doing that you forget how finite life is. I tell my people, your lovers and their love towards you will die with them in the grave. Your haters and their hate towards you will die with them in the grave. Most of the things you've accomplished will die with you in the grave. And yeah, you can leave some sort of generational understanding and things of this nature, but 500 years from now, will anybody ever truly know? No. Even the greatest, right, of all time, how many people, mention all the kings that have lived throughout history and built beautiful, incredible buildings? Let's take the Tower of Babel. Okay, perfect. It was built by a ton of people. Disobedience, call it what you may. But who built it? Who was that? Who built the pyramids? So you have all this understanding of these things that were created by people. Even the Great Wall of China, who built it? You don't know. Maybe some people know. But I agree with you. It's so easy to get caught up in this echo chamber of caring. But when you realize that people don't actually truly care, it gives you a sense of freedom and a sense of what I like to call equanimity. Equanimity is calmness of the soul to do what you want to do. Melvin Lim, thank you, brother.
Also,
it's been a good session.
Thanks for the loop. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was another episode of Money Talks, an exclusive conversation with some of the most brilliant minds in business, entrepreneurship, and finance. I hope you guys unlock some data sets, enjoyed the session as much as I did, and I'll see you guys on the next one.